Hello, I'm Nadia, delighted to be with you. My guest today is actually a book PR guru, and his name is Dan Janal. Now, it's very interesting. We're having some technical difficulties, and that's what I wanted to start off by talking to you. If that happens and you have some difficulties with your technology, just be very transparent and explain it. As we are increasingly living in virtual worlds, so technology is an increasing challenge. So as soon as Dan is ready, he will join us. But the key is, and it's whether you're having a technical glitch like I am in getting Dan to join us this morning, or whether your PowerPoint slides go, or whether there's any kind of distraction, the key is always to stay very, very calm. And the reality is people are very forgiving as long as you are calm. I can't tell you, through my years of being live on television and giving talks in front of live audiences and now using technology, things have inevitably gone wrong. One of my favorite stories is I was doing a big keynote address for the Home Depot, and we were doing it in Las Vegas, and I was speaking to all the store managers. And in fact, I had the wonderful privilege and pleasure of having Carol Tomei introduce me. When I had done the rehearsals, my clock had been on the left-hand side. So out of my peripheral vision, I could just glance at the clock and see how many minutes I had left for the broadcast. And when I got onto stage, I glanced down to just see how long I'd gone, how long I had, and there was no clock. So I said to somebody in the audience, how much longer do I have? And what was interesting was I asked them how much longer I had. I'm trying to see if I can get Dan back in. And they said 5 minutes. And what they meant was that my clock had been running for 5 minutes. So I had that moment of being flustered, and I very quickly gained composure, and all was well. And that is the truth for all of us. It's the ability to very quickly gain composure, tell people what's happening. So for those of you who are just listening to me now, I'm trying to get the wonderful book PR guru Dan Janal on. And as soon as he sorts out his technology, he'll be joining me. But there I was in front of a large audience, and I had that moment where I couldn't see my clock. And it's that moment of panic and freezing and disorientation. But it's always how quickly can you recover? And I always say this to you, is it always appears so much worse to you than it does to your audience, as long as you are completely calm. So in about 2 minutes, once Dan, if you can hear me, I'm about to add you to my stream to talk to you. But I thought this was a good opportunity to talk to whoever was watching me live, to say inevitably, and years of live television, things are not perfect and things go wrong. And isn't that analogous to life? Is that things go wrong and things are not perfect. And it's not how you fall down, it's how you handle them. Now, I tell people, if you're giving a big presentation and you stumble, simply say, let me rephrase that. You can't say, let me start again, because you can't start again. And I can't start this live broadcast again. But what you can say is, let me rephrase that. Let me put that another way. Or it's times like this, you wish you had a teleprompter, or make light of it. But the key is always, it is inevitable that things go wrong. And the ability to handle things going wrong, as we all know, is the key to life, because life is just not perfect. So I'm now going to bring you book PR guru Dan Janal. And the focus of today was to say, if you want to be a thought leader, if you want to be seen as somebody who is an expert in your field, do you need a book? So here he is. Dan, welcome. We made it happen. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for your patience. I'm actually on my phone, which did not have any problems, but there was some blocking issue with my MacBook. So I have no idea why. We'll never figure it out. And you're absolutely right in your intro that stuff happens, and you just deal with it. You roll with it. You flow with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, the thing, just getting back to you, Dan, and we're going to focus on books and do you need a book, is I think part of all of our journeys in life is, and it's one of those universal truths and ancient wisdom, is it's not how you fall down, it's how you pick yourself up. It's how you cope. And like anything else, it's a muscle, right? So, but nobody views you with the microscopic lens you view yourself. So Dan, what I wanted to share today is so many people are going, I want to be an expert, but in the age of social media and where so much is online, do I really need a book?
You absolutely do. And I'll share you a story that told me very personally why I needed a book. My background is in high-tech PR. I was on the PR team that launched America Online. I did PR for companies like K-Pro and Commodore, where they were synonymous with the word computer. And I would go to these Software Publisher Association conferences looking for clients for my publicity business. And there were other people there with credentials equally as good as mine. I went to Northwestern, they went to Stanford. I had K-Pro and Commodore and AOL, they had Hewlett-Packard and IBM and Zenith. I mean, it was, so how do you choose? How do you stand out? Well, one year I decided to write a book. It was called How to Publicize High-Tech Products and Services. And every year I'd go there and I'd speak on panels or lead a session or a training session. And now I had my book. And that made me stand out. So instead of just doing my session and being one of 3 or 5 people who are in the final draw for getting a contract, I was the only one. I was the person who people were waiting for to talk to because I had written the book. The book made me a thought leader. Now, the other people might have been as smart as I was. I might have been smarter than they were. Doesn't really matter. They didn't have a book and I did. And that's what made me stand out. And that led to all sorts of new opportunities.
So I know there are people who are watching this going, I've got a book in me. I want to write a book. And I know that certainly happened to me with my books is I eventually went, okay, I'm going to do it. But there's so many people. And I told you the story when I wrote my first book, somebody said, Nadia, that was pretty simple. I could have written it. And I said, yes, but you didn't. So how do we get from the I've got a book in me to actually making it happen?
Sure. There are 2 real issues here. One is the imposter syndrome, and every expert I've ever met has suffered from the imposter syndrome. They think there's someone out there who's better, smarter, more qualified than they are to write this book. And who are they to write this book? Well, I'm here to tell you that your experiences, your personal stories, the things that made you you, and the contributions you made to your clients make you the expert that this book should be written. So there are a million self-help books, but they're all different because they all focus on different aspects of different people's lives, and the stories make them different. Same with business expert books, because you work for, not you, but a person worked for an oil and gas company, they're gonna have different experiences than someone who worked for an airline company or a computer software company.
Right.
And that's what makes it different. The second thing is getting the content. And I'm sure there are many people who are listening to this who blog every day or every week, or who post videos on YouTube or Instagram, or do seminars, webinars, podcasts, and such. All of that is content that can be used in your book. You don't have to start from scratch. You can use the material you've already written and work with an editor to refine it, to update it, to mold it, to show you to be the expert that you are. You might be further along than you already think you are.
Right. So, and I know you're a master at this. And really, my goal in these live interviews is to give people the resources. I say, obviously, we can shift mindset, but also, and you've done that by saying, you might think, am I worthy of doing this? And so part of your work in helping people get their book is to say, yes, you have expertise because nobody has your story. So I like that. And then you would work with somebody who obviously has ideas. I mean, do you ghost write for them?
I do. I have a number of services. I've ghostwritten books for people. I like to call it co-writing because you're really living together inside each other's minds. I mean, Ken Blanchard and Spencer Johnson wrote many, many books together. You know, The 1 Minute Manager, Who Moved My Cheese. And I asked Ken Blanchard, why do you co-write books? You know, you're a very smart guy. He's co-written 70 books. He said, I learn from other people. And that's so true. I just did a consult with one of my new clients just the other day, and he would have an idea and I would refine it, and he would refine it, and he'd bounce off me and I'd bounce off him, and the ideas got better. And we never would have gotten there alone. So writing a book is a collaborative process, and I love doing that with my clients, but that's only one service. That's the ghostwriting. I also do book coaching and consulting and developmental editing, and that's where I act as an accountability partner as well as a sounding board to make sure the book actually gets done. Because believe it or not, some people really need that accountability. You know, if they say we're going to meet on Monday morning at 10 o'clock, well, on Sunday night at 8 o'clock, they're writing whatever they promised to deliver to me because they had that deadline. And without a deadline, it would never happen.
Okay, so I'm looking at the chat as I speak to you, so some questions are coming up. First of all, Dan, where can we reach you? Somebody has asked.
Sure. My website is writeyourbookinaflash.com, which is the name of my book as well, Write Your Book in a Flash, which is on Amazon. And if you have all of about $1.99 or $2.99, you can get the Kindle version on Amazon. So I don't think that's going to break anyone's bank.
Write Your Book in a Flash. And I know you are on LinkedIn, Dan, Janal.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, another question that's just come up, and I'm monitoring the chat as I'm asking you this, is how long, Dan, how long is this process?
It really depends. I mean, I've seen people put out books that just have quotes or tweets, and that can be done in a matter of hours or maybe a few days. I've had clients that I've interviewed for my podcast who say they've locked themselves in a hotel room for a weekend and they wrote a book. That's if you have all the information inside your head. I've seen people who could do that. I had another person on my podcast who said that she wrote her book, she dictated her book while being stuck in traffic on the New Jersey Turnpike. So using your voice to tell your story is a modality that works for some people who aren't comfortable writing or have trouble with grammar, punctuation, spelling, and such like that. So there are many different ways to write the book. But in terms of how long it takes, well, a good book today is about 20 to 25,000 words. I like to break things down.
20 to 25,000. I'm writing this down.
Okay, great. So we have let's say 25,000 words. If you have 10 chapters, so you have an intro chapter and a final chapter. That's a call to action and the summary, and 8 chapters in the middle that talk about the problems and how to solve the problems. That's a good essence for a business thought leadership book that gets to show you as the person that they get to know, like, and trust you, and they see you as a mentor who can lead them from mess to success and make them look like the hero. That's the formula. Okay, so we have 10 chapters, 25,000 words. That's 2,500 words per chapter. If you can sit down and write 250 words a day in, say, 15 minutes or half an hour, that's not much. That's a blog post. 250 words, that's nothing. So if you can do that in 4 days, you have 1,000 words. Well, do the math. In 80 days, you would have 20,000 words if you just wrote 250 words consistently. Now, I like to set a little timer, 15-minute timer. And I do that whether I'm studying Spanish or playing the guitar. I said, if I can't play the guitar for 15 minutes a day, then I have no right to call myself the next Eric Clapton. But if I do 15 minutes a day, I can get better progressively. The same with writing your book. If you start down and just say 15 minutes is nothing, I can write something in 15 mintes. You write your 250 words, and if you're inspired, it's like that first sit-up is the hardest one. The second one is a lot easier. Then you do 20, and then you burn out. At least I do. But you get those 20 sit-ups in there, and then the next day you do another 20 sit-ups. So you do your other 250 words. And by the end of 3 months, you pretty much have a good first draft done.
And, you know, Dan, something that's sparking in my brain as you're saying this is I think people think they've got to be like we are professional speakers or consultants or coaches to write a book. But so often, and I do a lot of coaching in the corporate world, is somebody can be in management or be a learning and development specialist or be an inclusion and diversity specialist, and to differentiate yourself in the corporate world and say, I am part of a big organization, but I'm an expert in this area. Writing that book can be fantastic for your career within the organization, because so often that kind of initiative is recognized. So I think, and we're part of this wonderful group on thought leadership with Peter Winnick and Bill Sherman. And what I've learned from attending these sessions is that thought leadership isn't necessarily I am Tony Robbins, I am Oprah Winfrey. Thought leadership is being in an organization and being perceived as an expert in your area. And a book can certainly help you with that.
It certainly can. And a lot of problems that people have with this is that they either they don't go in with a strategic focus. They say, what do I want the book to do for me? And so, for some people, it's to have influence, be seen as a thought leader. For other people, it's to get new business, new money. start their consulting and grow their consulting business. So that's really the first question I ask my clients. What do you want the book to do for you? And then everything flows down from
And of
there.
course, we're talking about business books. We're not saying if you want to write the next American great novel. We're talking about as a person who wants to be recognized as an expert in their field. And that's specifically our focus today. So what are you reading at the moment? What books do you think are out there that are really worthwhile? I've just read Atomic Habits, James Clear, and I thought that was masterful, even though The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg, had been written. I thought it was very well done.
I read Phil Knight's autobiography called Shoe Dog. He's the founder of Nike. And he talks about the early days where, Nike was far from an overnight success. It was 8 years of struggle, near bankruptcy, getting investigated by the FBI, money laundering charges that were false. And you just Japanese competitors and suppliers that wanted him out of business, that would it's a wonderful story of corporate intrigue that really told you a lot about business. So, and it was very well done as a memoir and as a business insightful book. I thought that was very, very well done.
And my last question is, in an age of Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, how much are people reading, and how do you, as the PR guru and publishing consultant and co-writer, how do you help people navigate writing so that people read?
Good question. The only reason why people will read your book is to solve a problem that they have. So as you sit down to write your book, and we start with that basic question, what do I want to get out of this book to help my business? You need to find the intersection where your skills and the clients or your prospects' needs intersect. So find out, what are the 8 problems that your typical clients have, and then write those chapters to show that you understand their problem. Send the book to your typical clients or your prospects. Don't wait for them to find some PR or stumble across it on Amazon. Send them a FedEx with your book, with a sticky note on chapter 8 saying, I read in the Wall Street Journal where you're having a problem with cash flow. This chapter addresses cash flow, and I'd love to talk to you to see how I can help you solve your problems. That's the way to get clients from your book.
Dan, this has been excellent. I wish I had spoken to you and had this conversation before David Asarno, who is the CEO of Business Nitrogen, and I wrote our latest book, but I think I'll be sending you and all my clients the manuscript. You've given us a lot of excellent information. If people want to reach Dan, he's on LinkedIn, Dan Janal, Janal. Show us your book cover again so that we can get that.
Sure. Write your book in a flash, and just put a .com, that's my website. And my email address is dan@prleads.com. And this is a lesson in marketing for you and branding. You name your book the same as your website, the same as your Facebook account, and all that, so people can find you easily.
Dan, can we agree that anybody who, as a result of this conversation, gets their book written and published, comes on and you and I interview them together?
That would be a lot of fun.
We want to quantify that, because all of our roles right now is how can we help you? And if as a result of this conversation, we can't quantify who is listening right now, who got inspired. And to reinforce what you're saying, I have 3 books: Own Your Space, Small Changes, Big Impact, and Own Your Network, 2 with co-authors. But I can honestly say that those books have been the best calling card. And I think that's what you're reinforcing, is it's a great calling card, and it really does establish you as a leader and a thought leader and an expert. Dan Janal, thank you so much. I'm so pleased we worked out our technology. Any last words of inspiration to anyone who's going, sounds like a good idea, but can I do it?
Sure, that's a great way to end the conversation. I go back to my 15 minutes a day. If you really want to write a book, wake up 15 minutes earlier, take 15 minutes from your lunch hour while you're at your kid's soccer practice, take those 15 minutes and just write. And at the end of 90 days, you'll have a good first draft, and I can help you turn it into an excellent book.
Superb. Thank you so much, Dan, and thanks so much to all of you.